Ah,
Fix your corner, your
I
background.
can't. I can't. I can't. That's what I was saying. It's on the AI. It's not on the normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very frustrating. All right, we're live, Bina. We're live. We're live.
Hello and welcome to Morning's Culture. Good morning, Sil. Good morning, Grain, and good mornings to everyone who is watching us live and will watch us recorded later on YouTube, Substack, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. We are maximizing our reach. We are making ourselves available. And this is what all you need to do in the universe, in a bigger picture. This is all actually what you need to be at the right place. Make yourself available and
Yeah.
let the rest go with the flow, really. Go via attunement. Rest will taken care by the universe. This is how things are working for me, at least, of course. And I can say for us, we just go via attunement. We were not doing anything. We were just okay. We were very happy in our bubble, like self. He says, okay, yes, I'm working on myself. And of course, he was working really being extra thorough. He was during all this time after writing these many books, but and then all the programs and courses. But he was checking it again and again and again and being really thorough. And he
You
was
have
not
to be
very
thorough. Yes. Yes.
he
TikTok has
was not
joined us. So, yeah.
okay, good. So he was not sharing things very openly till he feel his consciousness, his conscious was really satisfied, completely in agreement with that.
Conscience was
Yes,
satisfied. Conscience. Yeah.
yes, yes. This is what I said. But
Ah,
his conscience was really satisfied with that. That yes, what I'm sharing is really proven. I have tested it many times. I have been like really working on
yeah.
it, and it is thinking it through to the end. This type of thoroughness we need in our life, and we need in our personal matters also. When we think
Yeah.
about anything, when we acquire any idea about ourselves, any self-conception, any perspective about ourselves, that oh, this is who I am. Is this idea really well thought, thinking it through to the end, or we just acquire it from outside, anywhere? Mostly it is just like, oh, yes, someone says that. Oh, mostly people say that. Oh, people around me say that. Oh, people close to me say that. Important people in my life said that. That's why I feel that. Or
Yeah.
nobody said that, but they cue me and I interpreted in that particular way. And this is how I just learned this, that this is who I am. Mostly self conceptions are not well thought, are
Yeah.
not deliberate, are not thinking it through to the end. They are just acquired randomly. They are acquired from external cueing. They are
Yeah.
acquired from just from our subconscious, out of our subconscious fears and guilts and all sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
When we think about things like someone like Sil, I'm just using him as an example here. One of his product, like Way of Impeccability program or Mornus program, he was being really thorough. Like he was checking it again and again, though it was proven that it is working. Yes,
What?
though it makes sense. But still, he was checking it again and again and again before sharing. When we make a painting, we do check, like, okay, oh, yes,
I was
oh, this
testing
is
it,
enough.
not just checking it, Bina, but testing it,
Yes,
which
yes,
is,
yes,
different.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. To be precise, he was testing it. And when we have just we when we create up any painting or any art like writing story or
Yeah.
poem or drawing or anything, we do check it again and again and see that okay, oh yes, even the last print, like we try to make it
Tweak.
as perfect as
Tweak.
we can. But but when it comes to self conceptions, they are just like, oh, it was coming in the rain, I just adopted it. It was just come with the wind and I just adopted.
Yeah.
How can we be so mindless about this? How can we be so helpless, so dumb to acquire any self-conception, just picking up randomly and then acquiring it? We never try to, we almost never try to thinking it through to the end, that from where it is originating, from where it is coming. Is it really valid? Is it true?
Um,
Is it going to be beneficial for me? Or even if it is true, how much it is going to be beneficial for me? And is it true right now? Maybe it was true in the past. Yes, okay. Am I still the same person? Or can I improve? Can I change it? No. Oh, someone
Yeah,
said in the childhood that, oh, yes, I'm dumb and I'm going to be dumb forever. Because someone said in the childhood, at some point,
yeah,
in some specific
terrible.
situation, I was dumb in playing tennis. Okay. But I just keep it and making it, oh, okay, now my whole world is painted by that I am dumb. This is how,
Isn't that amazing? How that
this
one
is so
conception,
amazing. This
yeah,
is so
you
amazing,
know,
sir.
that we have a conception, an idea, a belief that can completely dominate our entire life.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Exactly. So this was just my thought of the day. I was thinking about this. Okay, but it is one of the thoughts. Of course, it is not just the only thought I was thinking about, but I'm just sharing one of the major thoughts I have. And I'm sharing this because I always get inspired by his thoroughness, by Sir's thoroughness. That okay, how much he tried to be thorough. Sometimes it seems a bit overwhelming that okay, why just stop here? Okay, just let it run. Okay, maybe someone was trying to share a different point, but his thoroughness, I can never deny the value of the thoroughness here, because this just being thorough brings so much value into my life. And of course it is happening with others also, and it is happening with his own life also. And I can see that okay, how much it is eliminating the unnecessary burden of all the random thoughts and beliefs and ideas. So being thorough about things is also giving due respect. In other words, it is the way of impeccability. Okay, welcome back, Sil.
Yeah, I had to leave a little bit real quick just to try and get things set. You see, it's like really being difficult here now. Well,
Okay,
still not right,
okay.
but it's at least
But
better.
at least it is working. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
well, I'm trying to get the audio to work for TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
but it there we go. Well, it says resume and then continue live. All right, there we go. All right, so hello back, TikTokers. I don't know if you can hear me now or not. Before it gave me at least a notice that said audio not working. So if you can hear me, let me know there in TikTok. Just say we can hear you, or we can hear you. Say yes or something. Yeah, I don't know. Because it's not, I didn't see that message, but I'm not seeing a message or anywhere where the audio is working. So I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, but peculiar. Well, what can you do? What can anyway? So the oddities of live broadcasting. Yeah. All right.
We are learning. We are learning.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and also, I see when I watch TV sometimes. I just earlier, I was watching some football and the guy was talking to the production crew and he came live. Oh, so he was like, come on, people, get moving. And he was kind of scolding them. So yeah, stuff happens. Even in people who do this for a long time, and they are well paid, and they got a big production crew. Unlike us, all right, when we do the TV show, we have a producer that's helpful. That takes care of things that we don't have to do it. But in this case, I'm both host and producer, right? All at the same time. All right, we'll continue with our reading. I want to get to the story. Where are we at? What was Don Juan doing to Carlos? Bina?
Okay, sorry, I was just responding to YouTube
Oh,
and leaving a
see,
comment.
Bina doing production stuff also.
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
See, this
carry
is
on.
all stuff that in other circumstances you'll have somebody doing this. You have the producer, and then you've got somebody who's taking care of the social media, sharing, connecting, responding, answering questions. You may have multiple people, and then you've got somebody working the lines for the call-ins. Yeah? Usually they do both a little bit. They're watching the social media and they say, oh, somebody asked a question, and this is a big part of doing, having a nice full team on board to do this. So we'll have some of that when we do the or when we do the TV show. We did one already. We had a practice section. The next one is coming up on Thursday, which is the first one where we're going to be talking about mourners and mourners culture. Right. So this is the Mourners Show. Just for those who haven't been following along with us, maybe new. Right. The Mourners Show, it's called, and this is this really cool show that we do, sharing and talking about obviously mourners culture, right? And that's why I'm saying the first show is going to be um, about what is mourners exactly, what is mourners culture, right? The two things, right? Very cool to have them both there, so that we know what we're talking about, right? In other words, what the Mourners Show is all about. Yeah, yeah. Very cool. So the Mourners Show, the TV show, you can just put in the Mourners Show TV show as a search. Maybe even if you put the Mourners TV show, probably will come up as well, I imagine. I was putting up where we were reading. So what we were doing, are you back, Nina?
Yes, I'm here.
What is the story? Where are we in? What was Don Juan and Carlos? What are they about here now?
Okay. So after continuously arguing, trying to tease, or I don't know how he was trying to tease, but actually, really inadvertently, he was teasing Don Juan that, okay, oh yes, I don't know how to perceive. I don't know how to perceive, because in his mind, he was not able to perceive. But Don Juan was saying that, okay, you have this ability. You are trying to focus on your, of course, in your senses, usual senses, like, okay, yes, the touch and all these things. And then this is how we are so trained, and this is what Carlos is struggle also, that he's not able to be open towards more senses than just the
Right,
usual ones. And
right,
that is
right,
what
right.
perceiving is, that, okay, go from the sensory world to the other world, and let it come. He
Correct,
has
correct.
some precise ideas, like really fixed ideas about things, and that is causing him trouble, although he has
Right.
innate ability. Although some entities, I really like him because they are very gentle with him, according to Don Juan's
Oh yeah,
understanding. So they
yeah.
are giving him warnings, they are communicating, and also, but this innate ability, having innate ability is not so profound, because we all can have that. But
Right, right.
making them deliberately a skill, that is something like, okay. And then Don Juan was continuously insisting on that, okay, you have to perceive. And Carlos' struggle is real, really. He's struggling with
His
that.
struggle
But
is in multiple ways, right? His struggle
yes,
is about conceiving, right? So
exactly.
the conceptions is an issue. Doesn't have a way to conception it. Then also he's struggling with capital trust, which is one of the core conceptions that he's not aware of, right? So
Hmm.
this is very important. He's unable to capital T trust, which means that you are going into something not knowing exactly how to do it or what to do or whatever. Right? It's trust involved. So trust is hand in hand with being ignorant, being unaware, not knowing. Right? This is very difficult for Carlos. Furthermore, uh, we are at a point where what is going on, what we are reading about, is
Hmm.
Carlos has got a blockage inside him, which is preventing him from doing things and learning and growing. And on Juan, through his capital P perceiving, has has seen this, has perceived this as being a promise that Carlos made in his childhood. And he says to him, yeah, he gently steers him into, by sharing from his own childhood, he gently steers him to get immersed into his childhood, right? And Don Juan knows what it is, but he needs Carlos to connect to it of his own accord. So he's kind of gently prompting him, much like the universe does to us, right? Same mechanism. He's prompting, he's
Hmm.
suggesting, he's cueing, he's giving him hints and clues. But Carlos has got to get there on his own. He can't tell him exactly what it is, right? So that's
Hmm.
where we are at in this now, right? In this mechanism of
Hmm.
of Don Juan looking to connect Carlos to this restrictive, inhibiting, inappropriate promise that he made, right? At least inappropriate in the longer term, right? When you look at the overallness of Carlos's life, may have been appropriate in that moment. At least the intent was appropriate. The expression of the promise was not, as we're going to see, right? So this is a very, very big deal here. And again, Bina has been this morning sharing to me much profoundness, deep, deep profoundness on automatic psychology. Yes. And automaticness and the unnecessariness that comes from it. And this is part of that. Yes. This was an automatic reaction that Carlos had, which led to this automatic promise, which led to this automatic unnecessariness of his life being affected by it, constrained in some way, right? It's a problem, right? In the way it materializes. All right, so will you read from, Bina, from the top?
Okay. Let me...
We're halfway through. We're starting to get to the core now where Carlos is about to connect and click. Yes? What is this promise? He hasn't yet, right? So he's still struggling, but Don Juan is going to cue him and trigger him, and it's going to come. So we're right there to figure this out. So at the top, where I've got it highlighted, Don Juan's statement.
Yes. Okay. Don Juan's statements seem to be incongruous. He had said that I had promised something to someone.
Hey, no R's, please. No R's, please. No R's. Thank you. Sorry, just go again.
What?
You're saying I said no R's. No R's.
Okay. He had said that I had promised something to someone during my childhood, and that the child was crying at that very moment was important to my promise. I told him he was not making sense. He calmly repeated that he perceived a little boy crying at that moment, and that the little boy was hurt. I seriously struggled to fit his statement into some sort of orderly pattern, but I could not relate them to anything I was aware of. I gave up because I can't remember making an important promise to anybody, least of all to a child. He squinted his eyes again and said that this particular child who was crying at that precise moment was a child of my childhood. He was a child during my childhood and is still crying now?
He is a child crying now. What happened? Did you mute yourself, Bina?
Oh, sorry, I was reading. Do you realize what you were saying, Don Juan?
I do.
It doesn't make sense. How can he be a child now if he was one when I was a child myself?
He's a child and he's crying now.
Explain it to me, Don Juan.
No, you must explain it to me.
For the life of me, I could not fathom what he was referring to.
He's crying. He's crying.
Don Juan kept on saying in a mesmerizing, this was not mesmerizing, sir. Sorry.
Oh, he's crying. He's crying. I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Don Juan kept on saying in a mesmerizing tone.
And he's hugging you now. He's hurt. He's hurt. And he's looking at you. Do you feel his eyes? He's kneeling and hugging you. He's younger than you. He has come running to you, but his arm is broken. Do you feel his arm? The little boy has a nose that looks like a button. Yes, that's a button nose.
My ears began to buzz, and I lost the sensation of being at Don Juan's house. The words button nose plunged me at once into a scene out of my childhood. I knew a button-nosed boy. Don Juan had edged his way into one of the most recondite places of my life. I knew then the promise he was talking about. I had a sensation of elation, of despair. of awe for Don Juan and his splendid maneuver. How in the devil, how in the devil did he know about the button-nosed boy of my childhood? I became so agitated by the memory Don Juan had evoked in me that my power of to remember took me back to a time when I was 8 years old. My mother had left 2 years before, and I had spent the most hellish years of my life circulating among my mother's sisters, who served as dutiful mother surrogates and took care of me a couple of months at a time. Each of my aunts had a large family, and no matter how careful and protective the aunts were toward me, I had 22 cousins to contend with. Their cruelty, still
Cruelty. Their
cruelty,
cruelty, yeah.
cruelty.
Okay, their cruelty. I'll scroll a bit more, Yeah, it was sometimes truly bizarre.
Okay, it was sometimes truly bizarre. I felt that then that I was surrounded by enemies, and in the excruciating years that followed, I waged a desperate
Waged.
waged a desperate and sordid war. Finally, through means I still do not know to this day, I succeeded in subduing all my cousins.
Subduing.
Subduing all my
Yeah.
cousins. I was indeed victorious. I had no more competitors who counted. However, I did not know that, nor did I know how to stop my war, which logically was extended to the school grounds. The classrooms
Yeah.
of the rural schools where I went were mixed, and the first and the third grades were separated only by a space between the desks. It was there that I met a little boy with a flat nose, who was teased with the nickname Button Nose. He was a first grader. I used to pick on him haphazardly, not really intending to, but he seemed to like me in spite of everything I did to him. He used to follow me around and even kept the secret that I was responsible for some of the pranks that baffled the principal. And yet I still teased him. One day I deliberately toppled over a heavy standing blackboard. It fell on him, and the desk in which he was sitting absorbed some of the impact, but still the elbow broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
But still the blow broke his collarbone. He fell down. I helped him up and saw the pain and fright in his eyes as he looked at me and held on to me. The shock of seeing him in pain with a mangled arm was more than I could bear. For years I had viciously battled against my cousins, and I had won. I had vanquished my foes. I had felt good and powerful up to the moment when the sight of the button-nosed little boy crying demolished my victories. Right
Let me
there,
scroll.
right there, I quit the battle in whatever way I was capable of. I made a resolution not to win ever again. Oh my God.
Yeah, you see, this is the important point, right? This is the inappropriate promise. Yes, the circumstance prompted it, but in his resolution not to be cruel and mean, because he wasn't accurate in his perception, in his conception, in his intent. He didn't have clarity of intent. He made an inappropriate promise. This is why clarity of intent is so crucial, that we do not do this, right? So yes, Carlos, who's succeeding appropriately in the environment, okay, it's other ways to do it. Right? But he didn't shift his way of winning. Yes, because he was just caught up in that automaticness, that inadvertency of superiority paradigm, hierarchy, battle stuff, right? This is why Mona's culture is so valuable, because it's an alternative to that, where we can live in an alternative way and don't get caught up in that nonsense. To say, okay, that's your stuff, I'm going to do something else. Now, this may be difficult in a school environment like that, However, as adults, don't put your kids in that environment. Create a different environment. Teach the kids to be different, right? Don't teach them hierarchy. But first, you have to unhook from it, of course, which is not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do at all, right? So this is important to understand, though. We can make these promises or resolutions, right? They're not always promises, but I resolve. I'm always going to do this. I'll never do that again. Yeah, those aren't specifically promises. They're resolutions, but they're equally powerful, right? A resolve or a resolution or an intent that you set. Yeah, all of those promises, resolutions, all become intense, and they can be or are affecting. Yes, sometimes maybe depending on the nature of the resolution or the promise, might not have a big effect on your life, but they can be profound, like in this case. Yes. So Carlos is now unable to have victories in what he regards as a victory. Again, the conceptuality, right? You can just reassociate victory with in a different way, and then you won't have the problem. So, but that's a deeper conversation for another time. So, please read that again, Vina, from right there. I quit the battle.
Wow, sorry, it hit me really, really deep that
You want me
because
to read? You want me to read? You want me
yes,
to read?
yes, please.
Right there, I quit the battle. In whatever way I was capable of, I made a resolution not to win ever again. I thought his arm would have to be cut off, and I promised that if the little boy was cured, I would never again be victorious. I gave up my victories for him. That was the way I understood it then. And in the culture that he has, right, Catholic culture, which he says himself, it's not me saying this, right? In that culture, there's a payment for things. It's part of the underlying assumed default psychology, right? So if you want to get a favor, in other words, this was you want to get a boon, you want to get a benefit that the boy is cured, you have to give up, you have to make a sacrifice, right? This concept of sacrifice, which is really payment. Yeah. So the sacrifice is just a more holy, more religious way of saying payment, right? You have to make a sacrifice, a really profound sacrifice, because what you're asking for is profound. It's this reciprocity idea, which, of course, it's a superiority paradigm idea. Monist culture, no such thing. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Right? There's no need to reciprocate when people give you gifts freely, none whatsoever, or anybody, or the universe, anything. Right? Anyhow, so this reciprocity, this idea of sacrifice, is what's saying I'm giving up my victories for you to get better and be cured. Right? It's a very big deal. Very big deal. Say when you're ready to read, Bina. Don Juan had opened
Yes.
or you read Don Juan. We'll switch today. We'll switch right here now. We said we're going to switch, right? So we'll switch today. So you read Don Juan when it comes. Don Juan had opened a festered sore in my life. A festering, it's a bit peculiar grammar there. Anyway, I had opened a festered sore in my life. I felt dizzy, overwhelmed. A well of unmitigated sadness beckoned me, and I succumbed to it. I felt the weight of my acts on me. Responsibility coming home to roost now. The memory of that little butter-nosed boy whose name was Joaquin, produced in me such a vivid anguish that I wept. I told Don Juan of my sadness for that boy who never had anything, that little Joaquin, who did not have money or go to a doctor and whose arm never set properly. And all I had to give him were my childish victories. I felt so ashamed.
Be in peace, you funny bird.
Don Juan said imperatively. So
You gave
again, say
enough.
it imperatively. Yeah.
I just said once, and you were trying to like okay, even your books right there. Okay.
Well, I'm having fun because you had me repeat the thing when I didn't get the mood right. It's important, right? He's not saying it gently; he's saying it imperatively. You know? Be at peace, you
Yes.
funny bird. Yeah, or say you say.
Okay. Be in peace, you funny bird.
Don Juan said
You gave
imperatively.
you gave enough. Your victories were strong and they were yours. You gave enough. Now you must change your promise.
How do I change it? Do I just say no? Do I just say so?
A promise like that cannot be changed by just saying so. Perhaps very soon you'll be able to know what to do about changing it. Then perhaps you'll even get to perceive.
Can you give me any suggestions, Don Juan?
You must wait patiently, knowing that you are waiting and knowing what you are waiting for. This is the warrior's way. And if it
Let's
is
just
a
stop right
method,
there. I just stop right there because
okay.
that's something that goes into my code file. Yes, our code file. Yeah, I mean, it's probably some that we skipped here, but this line here is something that really resonated to me because patience. Even before I came to Don Juan, it was a big deal. I understood patience. I understood the power of patience, and at that time I was still working on acquiring patience. But
Yes.
this line is or this sentiment, this understanding is a very big deal. Why? Because it connects patience to intent. You see that, Bina? You see how it connects it to intent? Bina? I'm not hearing you. I think you're muted.
It was my background was very noisy, so I had to. Yeah, my neighbors, some
Ah,
neighbors. Yeah.
okay. Okay. So you see how that line that I'm adding
Yes.
into my code file, I just want to see
Yes.
what the
Yes.
page is here that
Yes.
we're on.
Please, you do
How it's
while you are doing
connecting.
this. Yes. I just
Yeah.
want to say hello to Norma. Okay,
Oh, good.
and
Oh, good. Hello, Norma. Yes. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
and
And
she
Norma
says
says
love
what?
does not demand sacrifice. Love does
Exactly,
not
Norma.
demand sacrifice. I
Exactly.
think it is not limited to love. Any sensible way of being will
Correct.
not demand
Correct.
sacrifice.
Correct. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
I do
right.
appreciate and agree with what she's saying.
Right. So Joseph goes on to say reciprocity is a real commitment in the medicine world. It is a foundational understanding among Native people. Yes, it is not just reciprocity, like I said, this is Catholic culture. It's a big part of it. Yes, it's an understanding of how we believe the world to work. Correct. And then Joseph goes on to say, we sacrifice to show respect to the spirits. This too is a fundamental core understanding. When we know we are going to touch the sacred, we fast, prepare. Sometimes we suffer. Reciprocity is not a payment. In the way you are saying it here now, no, yes. But I was talking about a specific instance of it, right? In Catholic culture where it is, and it used to be and this is the Martin Luther point, right? It used to be that you could buy indulgences, they were called, literally make a payment to get a free passage into heaven. Literally buy your way into heaven. Yes, I mean, talk about pay to play, right? If anybody's a gamer, they'll know what I'm talking about, right? So uh, this is a very different understanding of it, right? So when I was saying this, Joseph, again, you are transferring it to native culture, but I was talking about it in specifically Catholic culture. Reciprocity, of course, can have where you are doing it as a measure of respect, and also you are doing it like when you're doing the fasting and the preparation. This is also about leveraging your psychology to immerse into an appropriate alternative psychology and your emotionality, your everything about you. You need to be in a different place in order to access this because you're connecting to a different reality. You can't be in the space of your ordinary reality. So all of those mechanisms are there to leverage you to get you to shift into that alternate way of being that is appropriate for the instance, right? And of course, respect is part of impeccability. So it's automatic. But I will say that in many cultures, including uh, native culture, we must be careful of reciprocity. Do not assume that it is always so. Just think of yourself. Yes, or at least imagine so. For me, when I give a gift, I truly give it as a free gift. And I expressed this to a friend of mine once. I said, I don't like receiving gifts because they are almost never free. This really upset him. Jeffrey, yes, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, you had to eat his hat, Jeffrey. Same Jeffrey. Right? And I said I'd given him a watch as a gift. For some reason I had two watches, and I'd given him. Sorry, he'd given me a watch as a gift. And so anyway, I had extra watch, and I don't know how come he gave me a watch. It was very peculiar. It's not like we exchange gifts very often. Yes, and he absolutely refused to believe me that gifts were conditional. I said, I'll prove it to you, because he really didn't want to believe me, and I feel a bit bad about my proof. But well, anyway, so I took the watch off, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it. Oh my God, this freaked him out. He was super massively upset. And I said, you see, I was not free to do with the watch as I pleased. Look how it's upset you. There was a condition, even though you didn't think of it as a condition, there was a condition that I would treat the watch respectfully and not abuse it or whatever. It's an inadvertent expectation, in other words, right? Which is a condition. So the gift wasn't clear, right? So this was a very profound lesson for Jeffrey. It was also a lesson for me to say, be careful of being harsh when it comes to your your explanations, right? But he really didn't want to understand this about gifts coming with a price. But now, when we look at it, the point I'm making is that we can give free gifts. In other words, if I give you a gift and you want to go and stop on it, burn it, throw it away, that's fine. I have absolutely not one single. If that's what you want to do, I'm happy. Okay, cool. I mean, I try not to give gifts which will cause you a burden. Like, well, I don't really want your gift. I have to make the effort to go and throw it away. I'm sorry. I'll take it back. So I really try to give free gifts, and this is inherent in mourners culture. The entire concept of capital S sharing is about free giving of, well, you might not even think of it as a gift. You're just sharing what's valuable to you. I'm not sharing it as a gift, but that freedom, this is the key. This is absolutely the key to sharing. When somebody's sharing, you can take it or leave it. You can react. You can pull more from it. You can go into that, whatever. It's completely and utterly free. Now, in my understanding, at least of things, and I can really back this up, like Nina says, there's a thoroughness to everything that I do, and I really make an effort to test and check. I'm not ever going to say something that I have not put a lot of work and effort to and thoroughly check and test it. The universe shares freedom, but we are so locked into this idea of reciprocity and payment, and that nothing is for nothing. We really believe that. That's not true. Yes, you got life for nothing. You didn't pay for your life. Yeah. So already we start off. But of course, this is what Bina was talking about too in her automatic psychology, this book that we're actually going to write together, about this conception that Bina is bringing to the world of automatic psychology. We automatically assume that we have a payment, and so we feel guilty. We have to pay for our life. We have to pay for every boon, every benefit. When you live in attunement, your life is filled with boon, with moreness, with fantasticness, with awesomeness. This is inherent to moreness culture, to understand and unhook from this idea of payment, of reciprocity, of everything. No, it's all free. You get to choose whether or not you want to partake in moreness or not. It's moreness. By definition, it's extra, it's bonus. It's not paid for. It's moreness, right? Right there, Bina. This is important for Thursday, for the TV show on Thursday, in where we're going to talk about moreness. I don't know if I've ever specifically articulated that moreness is not something that we pay for, right? So, yes, Joseph, give freely, receive freely, says Joseph. Norma says, you see clearly. Joseph says, immersed in a medicine bubble. Exactly. Clearly you see too. Depends on the definition, says Norma. Same as all words. Precisely. And this is why, Norma, conceptionality is so important. Because a conception is very open and is connected to other conceptions. And the understanding of a conception is different to other terms. You can define other terms because a definition is a box, but a conception is always evolving. It's open, it grows. And therefore, you have to continually be updating it. And it's dependent on the other conceptions that it's connected to. That's why conceptions are so powerful. And when you start to connect to conceptuality, your own creativity, your own understanding, you're making something, creating something, you're creating an understanding, you're creating an awareness through the employment of your conceptuality. Because to conceive is to create, right? So you're creating understanding, you're creating awareness, you're creating connectivity, you're creating interconnectivity, you're creating attunement through conceiving. So conceptions are absolutely critically important. Just look at this conception of reciprocity. How massively it affects us in almost everything we do, right? And well, I know people who struggle to just enjoy their own lives because they're aware of other people struggling in the world who have less, right? So they feel guilty. Again, see, we have this idea that some way that's kind of a very diluted or a roundabout way of reciprocity coming into it. But still, we feel that we got to pay for our things in some way. You can't have something for free. If you get it for free, you sort of have to feel guilty about it. Come on, really? Yeah. So very, very, very powerful, very powerful. So give freely, receive freely as an attainment. Yes, yes. To be able to give freely and to be able to receive freely is absolutely a profound life attainment. Attainment. It is a skill that we need to come to. It's a state of being we need to come to. We need to evolve to that because we start from the superiority paradigm, which is primitive psychology. It's animal psychology. It's very primitive, right? It's fighting for everything, hierarchy, dominance. It's fear of limited resources, fear. It's a fear-based psychology. But when you get to being able to give freely, this is an entirely different psychology. If you're always fearing that you're never going to have enough, how are you ever going to give anything freely? This goes against every logic you have. Right? You got to take everything you got and hoard it and hold on to it because you're so afraid that you're never going to have anymore, right? That's fear psychology. And especially scarcity psychology, which is so inherent in our core psychology that we come from, right? If you just look at lions feeding and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, right? Pecking order and one that's at those that are at the bottom, they get to eat very little or sometimes nothing at all, and they can even starve and die, right? It's just fantastic. So there's a very real pressure on grabbing and getting and being higher, and scarcity is a very big stress. So when you get stuff to hoard it, you got to hang on to it. Right? So it's an attainment to be able to give freely and likewise to be able to receive freely. Because this whole culture that's come as a result of this, right, where nothing is for nothing. Well, if I get something for nothing, oh, now I'm feeling guilty. So we have to realize this. And when you get into monist culture, and now we start to see monist culture and monist psychology, yes, we start to, wow, in monist culture and monist psychology, I can not only give freely, but receive freely. Oh my goodness, suddenly your world has exploded. And when you realize the abundance of free gifts that are available to you, this is what monist is. This is what monist is, right? An abundance of an overabundance. You cannot access it all. It's so much. It is an entirely different paradigm to superiority paradigm, right? So Norma says, just come from love, nothing higher. There is something higher than love, Norma. I'm sorry. I know this is a very entrenched psychology. Love and love is all there is. I blame the Beatles. No Beatles, it's not all there is. And there is higher than love. And that is love with awareness. If we are tied to this reciprocity psychology, Norma, and you loving and you being loved, well, now I have to reciprocate. I have to give love back. See, it's a constraint. And that limits love. It tarnishes love. It corrupts love. Yeah. When you feel obligated. Yeah. I mean, many people get manipulated by being loved. People come and give them love, and they put a pressure on them to give back, to pay for that love. Yeah? So, see, that's love without awareness. So love in itself can be a problem. We can end up with inappropriate application of goodness, inappropriate application of love very easily. Yeah, love can become a manipulation. And you may argue, well, that's not true love. Fair enough. Yes, but that's why the term love, unless you're going to say capital L love, which is true, found, free love, okay, then yes. But we have to make that distinction. Love, as we typically understand the term, as you're just using it there, can be very complicated and very compromised if it doesn't come with awareness. So it's love with awareness. Very important, that distinction. That's the highest, right? Love with awareness. No long words needed, just 4 letters. Love and all, I suppose, with no judgment. Again, Norma, if we have no judgment, we'll have no morals. We have to have judgment. If you have no judgment, you are going to be completely vulnerable in life. You're not going to be able to make appropriate decisions. So we have to have judgment. Again, it's inappropriate judgment. It's not for me to judge your values. You have to decide on that. That's your choice. But I certainly can judge how your choices affect me. You've chosen to be a criminal and a murderer. Well, thank you very much. I will judge you because I think this is wrong. Yeah. So if we don't have that, we have no understanding of criminality. Yes, we have no morals. So judgment absolutely has to be important. It's about appropriate judgment, not inappropriate judgment. Most people don't want judgment because they don't want their flaws, their indulgences, the things that they know they should change but don't, which is an indulgence. They don't want that focused on. That's why they don't want to be judged, because they don't want to show that they are being indulgent, for which there's no excuse, right? There's no excuse for indulgence. So this is where the whole anti-judgment comes along. No, sorry, I want to be judged. Please judge me, because I'll learn. If your judgment is bogus, okay, it's bogus. It's just you and your stuff, but if it's valid, I'll say, oh, I better change this. I was not aware of this, right? Or I am aware of it and I'm working on it. Okay, maybe I've got to work on it more, right? So judgment, very important. We're not always aware of the traps and possible falls. Precisely why we need awareness, Norma, why we need awareness. One light love, no broken into segments, just love with awareness, which ultimately is the conception that I keep talking about, which is attunement. Yes, you're taking your love of the universe and you're taking that awareness of the universe and you're connecting it, right? So attunement is absolutely taking your awareness of the love of the universe and connecting. Yes, and now you're just, the love of the universe is so profound, it's so overwhelming, it's gift upon gift upon gift. You have to understand the context of the gift. The gifts of awareness, gifts of awareness, gifts of awareness. All about awareness, right? And everything makes sense. Give love, relieve love. I assume, Joseph, you meant to say receive love, but I like that, to say give love, relieve love. Yes, you relieve a lot of the love in you by giving it. So I don't know if that was deliberate, but if it was, very profound, right? Agree about the pathology, Joseph, says Norma. Joseph replies, many cannot know a pathology that I didn't dealing. Yes, yes, we come with default pathologies because of the superiority paradigm culture. And when we realize this, and Bina's point about automatic psychology, we get to realize we have automatic pathology. There's another nice chapter for the book. Please write it down, Bina. Automatic pathology, right? So I don't know what you're disagreeing to, Bina. Sorry, Norma, you have to say more specifically, right? Otherwise, I can't, the timing is not exact enough for me to connect it. So you have to say precisely what you're disagreeing with. Right. Now, do you understand or is it just disagree? Please, Norma, try not to say agree, disagree. Say, I don't understand. Right? And then see, let me explain some more, and then see if we can come to understanding. Once we have understanding, then you can decide whether you're going to connect to it or not, utilize it or not. Agree, disagree, hierarchy, right? It evaluates things, and it tends to be exclusive unnecessarily so. And we tend to agree or disagree before we really understand. We think we understand, and then we either, but when you check your understanding, what is it? Then you're going to discover, oh my goodness, I thought I understood, but I don't really. Right? And then we get to a deeper point, right? So again, good judgment, bad judgment. Again, I try not to have, it's about appropriate judgment. I try not to go into these default opposites, you know, good and bad. Appropriateness. Sometimes something is good and it's appropriate, and sometimes it's bad and it's appropriate, right? It's the same thing depending on context. So appropriateness depends on context and upon goals and motivations. Both of those can shift the thing into being appropriate or not. Right? So it's not simple when it comes to appropriateness. The same things can be appropriate or inappropriate depending on context or depending on goals and motivations and intents. Right? Right. Yeah. It's not about you or any oneness. It's about capital O oneness, which is attunement, right? Capital O oneness, right? Not aloneness or singularity or individuality, which is the little O oneness, but capital O oneness. You see the power of conceptuality, and this why I keep using these capitalized terms, because we use terms, and they can mean something, and then but there's more to it, right? Like capital O oneness, which is actually fairly commonly written as capital O oneness, right? Or just one, being one, capital O one. By implication, it's being one with the universe, one with God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Brahma, you name it, right? And whatever your conceptuality is. Again, that's all individual conceptualities. Doesn't matter. We're still talking about essentially the same thing underneath it when you start to really get into it. I did this as a boy. I did many psychological studies. I went and asked people, what exactly do you mean by God? At first, they gave just the default what they're supposed to say. And I said, yeah, but more. Yeah, please continue. Say more, say more. And the more they talked, the more they got away from that default supposed to what you think God is, right? And the more they shared what they understood, and the variety was unbelievable. Right? No two people I ever questioned on that ever gave me, in the end, the same understanding of God, right? So they all understood God in a very different way. Really magical. This is, again, the conceptuality. But then if you take all of those and you start looking for the abstract commonality, now you get into a whole different conceptuality. Then you start to get, what I call universe, huh? Or spirit. Yeah, yeah. Very, very, very powerful. So what did you disagree with, Norma? I still want to know. I didn't get to know what it is. Right. Again, I rather to say, what is it that you didn't understand rather than disagree? All right, so let's get back to our story, because I want to this point that we were on. Yeah. There is, of course, a deeper meaning, says Joseph, to a conceptuality behind the capital designation for a word. Yes, that's the point of it. The capitalness is telling you that there's more here than what is typically used, right? That's the whole point, right? It's just kind of simple in a way, but yes. Thank you for that, Joseph. I mean, that's the obvious, the duh of it, but it's sometimes very useful to point out the duh things. Right. Yeah. Grin, do true. Yes, too true. I see what you mean. Yeah, very cool. All right, so we'll come back to the chat there. I love chats. I love integrated chats. So all the TikTokers, right? Pay attention to this. This chat is going on in Facebook, because we're live in Facebook as well. We're also live in Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Joseph and Norma, they're regulars here. But share as well. I mean, if you share this kind of commentary in TikTok, I'll comment on that too. I'll respond to that too, and we can have a conversation about it, right? Which is what we're doing with Norma and Joseph. It's very powerful. And also, Norma's asking Joseph a question. Joseph back again, right? When you get conversation going, it's connectedness, it's interactivity. And the power of such discussion is we are getting to share multiple perspectives, not only us, but we get to see the multiple perspectives of others. Incredibly valuable, right? Super valuable, right? Very important. All right, so let's get back to what we were reading. Bina, any comments on my whole long diatribe, maybe? But please share.
No, it is all good. Of course, it is. It seemed like sometimes that, oh, we are getting too distracted, but actually nothing is distraction. Everything comes up, like whatever is coming, it is relevant. We might not be able to see the obvious connection right there, but at least my experience is that it always connects. Later on, when you just think about this, oh, okay, why it was, and then suddenly, oh, okay, now it is making sense. So just having this open conversation, open-ended conversation and open conversation, and not
Discussion.
get like really and not get distracted by okay and think of any topic coming randomly, think of it as a distraction is a really beneficial point for me at least.
Exactly.
To have something get
Exactly.
value out of.
Why is it not a distraction? Because it's our intent. Our intent is to connect to the mourners. We are reading, it's a capital R reading, which the intent of that is to extract and connect to all of the mourners that the reading has inherently, the reading connects to, the reading provokes, the reading stimulates, the reading causes us to engage our creativity, etc., etc. Right? So the capital R reading is a mechanism for getting to mourners. Right? That's what it is. So whenever we encounter that mourners, that's our purpose. That's our intent. So of course we are going to get immersed in the mourners, even though it's a temporary aside. Doesn't mean we're not going to go back. But it's like if I'm traveling on the highway, right, the freeway, the big, massive, great big interstate freeway. Yeah, and then here's a turnoff. Yeah, and I go and explore the turnoff. It would be inappropriate if my intent is to get to a destination as soon as possible. But if I'm traveling that highway with the intent to explore, to intent to connect to adventure and moreness, of course the detour makes sense. I go, I explore the detour, I get all the moreness and value from the detour, and I come back and I continue. See? So the main path is simply a mechanism for making you capital A available to opportunity, to mourners, right? So the highway in this case is reading the Carlos books. Yes, that's the highway. The intent is to connect to mourners. Whatever detour is going to come, we're going to take. And when we've extracted all mourners from that, we come back and we continue. Why? Because that highway is the most ideal way for connecting to all the side roads, because they all come back to the highway in some way, right? And likewise, a book usually, as it's like a highway, it connects to many side paths. Yeah? Very powerful, very useful. Right? And I want to really make the key point here that if we come back to what the overallness, look how this discussion, the value when we have that conceptuality, moreness particularly, we are able to get so much more than we otherwise would get. That's why I don't care for agree and disagree. Now you're getting the relative points and you get into contra argument. And again, we can end up in a disagree and we can get into a whole long discussion or argument either way and never get to understanding. But when you shift it to understanding, now your intent shifts, right? I'm not looking to support my position or defend my position or attack your position. That's what agree and disagree does. It becomes a war, becomes a battle, because that's default superiority paradigm thinking. Everything is a battle. Yeah? But when you have understanding, immediately we are now collaborating. See? Very profound shift. So we have to change our language from the defaults. Agree, disagree, like, dislike. No. Have appreciation, have understanding. They are overarching conceptualities that transcend and get us into moreness. And why is moreness valuable? Because, well, it's moreness. It's bonus, it's benefit, it's extra, it's fantastic, it's awesome, it's wonderful. Right? All of those, right? Yeah. Exactly. Part of appropriateness, capital A appropriateness, is stopping to smell the roses when it's time. Yes, absolutely. And it is something I actually, literally do. Right, Bina?
Yes. Okay. So, not unfortunately, but it was profound. But I am a bit like, oh, now it's time. But we will continue.
Okay.
Yes.
No. This is a good point, because this is a key point, right? This quote where Don Juan says, I'm going to read it because we're going to start on it. So we're going to end and start, and I love doing that, right? Yeah, or reaching out even when on the internet. Exactly, Joseph. The part of appropriateness is doing those extra things. This is capital A appropriateness. You are taking the entirety of your life into consideration. This is the magic of appropriateness. When we start to apply it to all contexts, the internal context, our immediate context right now that's affecting us, our intermediate, our larger context, our context in the overall, and then also taking time context, spiritual context. Yes. Oh my goodness, is what I'm doing appropriate spiritually? Uh, well, then you'll stop doing it right away. Yeah, you'll see it's not right. So of course, connectivity, which is what you're talking about. That's why I was saying earlier about connectivity. Yes, when we understand the power and value of connectivity, when we are talking about understanding rather than agree or disagree or like or the, we are now connecting. Yes, in order to understand, we've got to connect with each other and interconnect. Yes, and we start to collaborate, and in that collaboration, you get profound capital C connectivity. And this is fantastically appropriate. Yes. So, all of this is why, Joseph, the philosophy of appropriateness is the underlying philosophy that is behind way of impeccability, moreness, all of it, right? Philosophy of appropriateness. It's why, for me, appropriateness in all of the conceptions is the apex term. Always boils down to appropriateness, right? And appropriateness is the one thing that's always appropriate. Yeah? Very few absolutes that I know of, but at least one I know of. Appropriateness is always appropriate. I'm very, very cautious to share absolutes. You'll almost never hear me saying absolutes, right? But this is one that makes a difference. So this quote that we on this from Don Juan, the statement that he's making, you must wait patiently, knowing that you're waiting, and knowing what you're waiting for. That is the warrior's way. Now, way of impeccability, warrior's way, very closely connected. Way of impeccability takes the warrior's way and goes further, goes deeper to it, adds more to it, brings a lot more to it, right? But it's the underlying concept is the same. And this warrior's way, it's Bushido. Bushido, same thing, right? Warrior's way. Many, many cultures have a philosophical component to warriors, which is about moreness, impeccability, honor, integrity, etc. Right? It's very common all around the world. Right? So, but this is a key point, though. Don Juan has Don Juan's Bushido, right? We could call it. It doesn't quite work. Wando. Yeah, you can maybe call it Wando, right? There are a lot of things we'll call, like take Bushido and combine it with the thing that you're doing, and it makes fun names. But anyway, so Wando, yeah. Don Juan's Bushido is very extensive, very detailed, very, very, very sophisticated, which is why we are reading this. We're not reading this for the magic side of it, because that we can't really access. But Bushido, this we can. The warrior's way, the practical character training, this we can access, which is precisely here, right? So next time we are going to go into how this connects to clarity of intent. You must wait patiently, knowing when you summarize that, oh, this is clarity of intent, but you need to have the patience to be able to apply your clarity of intent. You need more things as well, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Bina?
Yes. Okay.
Anything to add
So,
before we go?
okay. No, not on this topic.
All right, so
Because
hang on. Joseph says here very cheekily, he says, when we see a beautiful woman, we may want it to be appropriate. Yes, Joseph. Well, some of us, but yes, we have to watch. We have to watch our understanding of appropriateness, and exactly, it all depends, And this is the beauty of appropriateness. When you expand it into the context, you see, yes, sometimes the immediate and the particular is also appropriate in the longer context. We have to combine the two. That's the ideal, to have our immediate appropriateness, like in this case, very specific appropriateness, also be appropriate in the overall. Yeah. When those two align, now you're living in moreness. Now you're living in moreness. Very cool. Yeah. We assume many things culturally are inappropriate, but like you said, like this, okay, when we see a beautiful person, right, may want it to be appropriate. Yes, absolutely. And there's no reason for it not to be. All depends on your motivations, your impeccability, right? Which is what impeccability is always about. Best use of energy. Best use of energy in all contexts, right? In all contexts. Yeah. So when that aligns, enjoy. This is what moreness is. When we understand this, everything has, when viewed from the appropriate perspective, everything is appropriate. But you've got to be in that space, which is the space of awareness enhancement and development, learning and growing, in other words, right? Come at it from that point of view, it blows open life. It's really abundant, abundant response. Very, very magically profound. Yeah. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Bina, sorry, I asked you and then I chat some more. Please share, Bina. Please share.
No, nothing. I was just wrapping it up. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Okay.
And we will see you guys tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Yes. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.